Okay, here we are with the move heard around the world. Spring Bengtzsen is here with us on the One Big Fire podcast. Spring, welcome. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's awesome, man. I know it's got to be crazy, everything going on right now, and we're here just to talk through it. I mean, I think everyone still is kind of shocked. You know, the shock is still very real for most people that you made such a bold move, and I'd love to unpack. What were some of the reasons? How has it been so far? And kind of what your big plans are here at EXP.
Yeah, let's do it. Where do you want to start?
Oh man, I kind of want to start with your business too, because there's something to be said about building a huge organization. And none of this, I feel like none of the growth happens in any revenue share or any of those opportunities if you can't actually help people sell more real estate, right? Like that is what, and there's just a select few people that have built big organizations in terms of their own real estate practice, right? And so why don't you walk us through a little bit of how you were able to build such a big big real estate team, kind of what the production looks like now and how you were able to kind of do that and how you're able to help other agents do it as well.
Yeah. So my journey started, I've been in real estate 20 years. About 15 years ago, I started a team. It was out of default of like, oh, it's the next step. But I was one of those team owners that should not have started a team. I had no freaking clue what I was doing. I ran a small Navy SEAL team for like 11 years. I had this idea in my mind that I wanted to be small and mighty and only work with the elite and blah, blah, blah. Until 2020, I was totally burned out. I was ready just to burn it all down. And I had a coach say to me, he's like, Spring, do you really think that you're going to sit behind a kitchen table for the rest of your life and take listings? And the answer was no. And he's like, then you probably should start treating this like a real business. So Jay, to be really candid with you, I've spent probably millions of dollars in coaching at this point. And I went and put myself in the right rooms, hired the right coaches. And over the last 4 years, we grew our company from about 12 agents to we have about 80 agents right now. And last year we just did over 315 million for about 650 units. So it's been a wild ride. I would say the key to my success is it's never usually about the how, it's about the who. And I've just gotten alignment with some of the best humans out there, and we're in growth mode.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
What I heard from that, what I loved is that I was like on a training with Tina Call, who I know you're good friends with Tina, and we were training her entire group. And the one thing that I brought up was that to this group that are looking to grow their businesses to get it in the right rooms. You just mentioned that you got in the right rooms. What I've been seeing you do now is you're creating your own rooms that people want to be in. And that's a testament to the leadership and the community that you've already built. And now where do you want to see that community go? You're throwing a huge event. I'm trying to clear my calendar to get to it. The spring break, by the way, what a name. Love it.
Yeah.
Tell us about what your vision is for the new community that you want to build upon, because you've already built an amazing business. You've built an amazing community. What's next?
Yeah. So if you want the backstory of how all this happened, I'll give you the behind the scenes. So about 3.5 years ago, I joined a different revenue share model brokerage. And I had a gentleman say to me, he was like, hey, Spring, the guy that like crushed it, his name was Brent Go. You should copy him. You should do an event in Mexico and copy what he's doing. And I was like, okay. So in 2020, I threw an event in Mexico at the X Corret in Cancun. And I invited my the people in my brokerage at that time, Real. And it was right after COVID, but they had it that you could only have 149 people or we had to test every single day. And so I sold it to 149 people and they came, and I had a friend there, and I had these towels that said like, I survived COVID and the cartel for the shitty towel or something like that. And it said spring break 2020 or whatever on it. And I was like, oh, we should. One of my friends was like, why didn't you call the event spring break? And I was like, you're right, because my name is Spring B. And so we shifted it to the last 3 years. I brought it stateside only because of like, I was like, can I get people to Mexico and the overhead and like they're all inclusive and whatnot. And so that's truly how it started. I was like, I'm going to copy. And now the funny thing is I'm going to your guys' One Big Fire event. And I actually messaged Brent yesterday. I was like, can I get the dates for your 2026 event? So I'm not competing with it. But I'm like, I'd love to take it back to Mexico, but probably not. But to answer your question, that was really long. I always took on the, if I wanted to grow a revenue share organization, I took on the approach that I needed to either get in the right rooms or I needed to create my own rooms. And I was like, I'm going to do both. And so I put myself in pretty much every room I could, and I created as many rooms as I could. And that's been a huge part of how I've been able to grow.
Love that. We've experienced something very similar to that. That's been, not only has that been how we grew our own real estate teams, is everything you've said is just, the evidence is so clear that if you want to get to wherever your B is, whatever it is you're trying to get to, it's getting in the right rooms. It was true for me. I know it's true for Al. Getting in those rooms, and then the same way we built here at EXP was through events and adding value. I noticed something in your video when you launched, you talked about adding value. None of this works. None of this happens unless you can add value to a network of people and actually make a difference in their business and in their lives. Yeah. And so that's the beautiful thing. Let's talk about this move and how did this come about? And I mean, you got I have to bow down to you. You made a bigger decision than most people and anybody's made in the history of real estate, because the future is this business model, this brokerage model, and no one has left what you walked away from to come over to another company that's similar and build it all again. So I commend you on having brass balls. Like that's
I do have brass balls. I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah. And it's a difficult decision, but I've always said, this is something Coach Burt used to say to us, and the worst place to be as a level 10 player is in a level 5 opportunity. Yeah. And that's kind of how when we found EXP, we just couldn't ignore that this was the bigger opportunity, and that's how we ended up here. So how did you get to this decision, and how did you ultimately make it?
Well, let me back up really fast. So, my husband is in the real estate tech space, right? And in 2020, I owned a small brokerage. I left KW and opened up my own brokerage. And in 2020, I saw a lot of his big customers were with EXP and they were crushing it. And he's like, Spring, I think you really should look at this revenue share model. So I actually started looking at EXP years ago. And I went down that path, and I actually had an LOI signed, and I was coming to EXP. And then what happened is I had a coach who I said, hey, by the way, I'm going to go to EXP. And he said to me, he's like, Spring, that's a terrible decision. Like, what do you have to offer anybody? Like, how can you go compete with the Jays and the Owls and the Veronicas? You're never going to win there. You need to go look for a new opportunity. And so I was like, okay, so I went on the path, and then ultimately I found Real, right? And I made the decision to go there because it was a new opportunity. That was 100% the only reason I chose the company, right?
Right.
And it was actually really good for me. Like, I thrived in the environment that they create, because out there you cannot have a community. They want it to be, they don't want to have they call them silos. They want you to have, like, you're part of Real, and it's one Real, and it's one ecosystem. And I respect it, like, totally. Right. And it was really good for me because it actually made me go create Spring. Because I'm like, well, I can't go market a community, so I'm going to have to go market Spring. So I'll go create a brand. Right.
Right.
So what ended up happening was over the last 3 years, it's been great. It grew to like 3,300 agents. And then about a year ago, Veronica Figueroa, I guess a lot of you guys met as a group, and said, hey, how can we make EXP like a 2.0? Like, what could we make for our people? In the conversation of like what platforms, opportunities, and Sisu got brought up. And that's my husband's company, right? And and so what ended up happening is she flew to Salt Lake City, and which I thought was super ballsy of her. So if you think I have brass balls, Veronica has brass balls. right?
Same.
And she's like, hey, would you go to dinner? And I knew her like from previous things. So we go to dinner, and she asked at dinner, she's like, would you consider this? And I'm like, that is a hard no. Like, I am not doing this in any capacity. And but the seed was planted. And the seed was planted. And then over the course of the year, over the course of like 6 months, I found myself back in rooms with Leo and Brian and Veronica, and I climbed mountains together and just different things that it was like each time there was a different conversation that happened. And I probably said no 5 times, no hyperbole. And this is a lesson for all of you. If I got recruited, anybody can be recruited, right? And so V kept on just randomly bringing it up, like, hey, girl, we're friends regardless, but what could it look like? What could we do here? And then what ultimately happened is I finally internally was like, we got to end this conversation. Like, I don't need people to chase me to be at the brokerage. And I said no. And then my husband went to EXPCon because you guys launched Sisu as a platform. And he was on fire. He was like, their energy here is so great. Like, this is their everything is so awesome. And I'd said no like a week before. And then I had friends there that weren't at EXP that were like, Spring, this is different. Like this is next level different. You really like I don't know what's changed, but it feels so different. And I was training for the New York Marathon, and I was running a lot, and I was running in silence, and I was listening to 10X is easier than 2X. And there's a section in there, there's a financial planner that burns down his whole book of business because he knows there's a bigger opportunity. There's a bigger opportunity. And I just started asking myself, I'm like, what is it I'm not seeing? Like, is there a bigger opportunity if I chose to burn this down and start over? If I could build a community, if I could have a platform for a bigger audience for the coaching stuff that we're doing as well. Is there a bigger opportunity to go and build past line 5 and go to 6 and 7? Could I get in proximity in the right rooms, right? Like, could my production on my team skyrocket because of where the pros go to grow, right? And so I opened up the conversation again, and some of my trusted mentors and advisors were like, honestly, Spring, you can rebuild. So like, why would you not take on the challenge and go for something long-term that will be bigger? And so to answer your question, Jay, it was scary. It didn't happen overnight. I'm still having a few moments of like, oh shit, I put a lot of eyeballs on me. Like, let's go. But yeah, like, I'm excited. I have my app here. I'm like, I'm at 0. Like, people are messaging me being like, wow, I woke up to a text today that said, wow, they made you a really big offer to walk away. And I'm thinking, oh, if you only effing knew. No, like, I am starting at fucking ground zero. But sorry, I dropped that bomb. I'm like, here we go. So
I love it.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're doing too, because, one of the things that, I feel like, this is very much about production. If we don't help agents sell more real estate, none of this exists. And so that's always at the foundation of what we do. But a lot of people don't talk about the opportunity. And you spent, an enormous amount of time. You went through 07, 08. Anybody who survived that, I know you got the same scars we do. And you've gone through another little downturn. And agents need help, and they're not getting it like that. I hear it every single day. They're not getting the support they need. They don't have the systems. It's like when you get a real estate license, they should give you a certificate that says figure it out, because that's what we all had to do. And now we get to help other people not have to crash through all the walls of figuring out how to build a business. And it's a beautiful thing. And so we're so proud to have you here at EXP. And what is it for people that want to follow along, speaking about the opportunity and sharing your journey of how you're doing it? There's nobody doing that, right? Like, it's almost like it's the secret that we don't talk about. So they can follow along with what you're doing to grow the organization, which I think is huge.
Yeah. So I think I'm in a cool spot. I think rev share has a bad rap, because once you see it, it's hard to unsee. Right. Yep. And it would be like, I never spoke about how much money I made before because it was irrelevant. It's not like I'm shouting from the rooftops, hey guys,
Right.
I'm making 100 and something grand a month. Like, no, right? And so, however, I'm in a cool opportunity because I literally have nothing. So I can be like, hey, I've done this and I'm going to do it again and I'm going to show you how. And so being able to document like literally my first dollar coming in, you'll see it, right? To my first person. And so I plan on documenting it. So my plan is this. If you go to my website, springbee.com, I have a section on there that says read my diary, and I have a blog that's the downline diaries. And I'm going to each week document what happened in the week of like the good and the bad. So it's got a few posts. There's one going on there today. If you follow me on social media, I'm putting it all on social. So you'll start seeing today, I'm going to post my first update. And I'm going to do some videos. I'm also doing a course. I'm going to make it super duper, super cheap. I haven't figured it out, but what we're going to do there. But I'm going to do it with John Cheplack. And I did my first lead with value. So again, back to like how you do this, I'm documenting exactly how you do it. So the first step is I dropped a lead magnet. It has over 1,000 downloads in the last 3 days. And it's how to build a 7-figure downline. And it's the exact plan that I did. And it's the exact plan I'm going to follow. And then I'll take that and then document how I'm doing it now. But people can follow me along and do it too. The thing that I want to prove, Jay, is 2 things. One, I went to the other company and the other company's not right or wrong. So like, it's not anything about that. But I went for the new opportunity because I was told I couldn't do it. And I want to prove like, you don't need the new opportunity. You need to do the work because other people came the same time I did and didn't have the success. Right. Yep. And so like, you got to do the work. And then the second thing I want to show like, is if you put in the work, like how life-changing this model can be, because it truly, I think it's changed your life.
100%.
I'm assuming it's changed your life. Like it's changed my life. And so I'm like, agents, you should be looking at this. I don't know why you wouldn't. And so I want to show like how you can build something, even if it's just paying your car payment. Right. It can be anything you want it to be, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So
I love that.
Yeah. So when you and I started, it was 7.5 years ago. We didn't like the cloud-based brokerage was so new to everyone. It was like when Keller Williams first came along. Remember, everyone's like, Keller who? Yeah. And it was like EXP who? We joined. They're like, never heard of EXP. Now everyone's heard. There's multiple other models. Where I'm getting at with this Spring is that we didn't know what we were doing. When we came aboard, we were like, we were not recruiters. We didn't understand recruiting. In fact, our mastermind, we had this like little unwritten like competition. Who could sell the most homes with the fewest amount of agents? Like it wasn't for real. Like, but it seemed like that was our mastermind. Like, yeah, I got 6 agents and I was able to sell 300 homes. And what we didn't, I think, realize is we can play this game with as many players as we want. But we just didn't understand the principles. Now, Michael, Jay, they built an amazing coaching, program, which is very similar. They help agents get from A to B. Mm-hmm. And you're a coach as well, and you're developing products and this and that. I guess my question is, when we started, we went to a whiteboard and said, hey, if we could have 100 agents in our first year, that would be a huge win, right? Well, we were like, I think 1,000 or something like that in our first 12 months, but we led with value. We just did what we said. My question to you would be, now that you've already been through this journey, this is like your second trip. What would you say, like the number one thing you'd be doing differently that when you first started with Real and you started building your organization there, what would you do differently? What's the number one lesson that you learned? You're like, all right, I'm going to be getting to B a lot quicker this way. What would that be?
Yeah. So exactly what you said, we've led with value, but, our internal value proposition, like Spring, was like we couldn't go create a community and say, hey, if you join, this is how we can help you, right?
That's a competitive advantage.
Yeah, like nothing right or wrong about any of I don't even know like 90% of the other models. I've never studied them. I don't care, like whatever. And I just believe like if you have value to provide and you have an opportunity to create a community, like people are attracted to community and people, right? The platforms like the EXPs and whatnot are just a platform to be able to provide value. So that's what I'm doing different is I'm actually partnering with a few of my friends that you're going to see announced here in the next few weeks. And we're creating a really cool community. We're bringing in not just real estate, but we're bringing in life, personal development, NLP, health, like we're bringing all of it because I believe in like the whole person, you know? And so I'm excited about it. So that is a big differentiator of what I'm doing is we're creating a community that anybody can be a part of, and it's going to be next level for sure.
Love it. So much of everything that we've all accomplished and what it takes is it's all about the person you have to become. Right. And taking people through that journey and helping them to become the best version of themselves is probably the most rewarding thing about this model. And that's super cool. I'm excited about what you guys are building and what we're building together and looking forward to be a part of it in any way. And I can only tell you that, you know, if you want, you know, you can sit on the sidelines and watch the journey, or you can join the journey and benefit from having partners like all of us that have a vested interest in your success. And that to me is, you know, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why you would sit on the sidelines and watch when you can get in the game. And literally it can change your life. It has mine. I lived in Puerto Rico for 4 years, you know, with literally, and what interesting thing about living in Puerto Rico outside of some of the benefits and taxes and whatnot is, you know, we're around a lot of billionaires and multi-millionaires that have done super successful things, you know, and I'm, you know, play golf with these guys. I don't play very well, but I still play. And they would, you know, they would tell me the things they've done, and I know what it takes to build a huge company and, you know, make an exit. And then when I would tell them about revenue share and our model and what we're doing, and they would get so geeked out and excited about it. I mean, these are very wealthy, very, very intelligent, very capable people. They love it because they understand leverage and they understand what it takes to build something. And so, you know, you're sitting, you know, everybody here is sitting on the heels of an opportunity. The next 10 years are going to be the biggest opportunity in the history of real estate. And you could sit on the sidelines and keep doing what you're doing, or you could be partners with some of the most brilliant people in the industry and go build something that gives you an exit strategy and forever income. So
I say this a lot over the last few years, like revenue share has been a game changing for me because of the market, right? Because of like, it created a security of like, I would tell my husband all the time, like, thank God for revenue share, like, because I didn't stress about anything, you know? And so I think for anybody, it's something you should be really considering, exactly for the reason you said too, Jay, like, they have the opportunity that you have a Jay and an Al and a Spring and a Veronica and a Kyle and a Dan and all the Tinas and all these people that are literally doing it. Like I'm my team, I got on today. We sold 8 houses yesterday. Like, come learn from like what we're doing to help you grow your business, right? Like, it's so silly to sit at the traditional model and have your broker that hasn't sold a house in God knows how long being who you're in proximity with. I don't understand it. I know rev share has gotten a bad rap because we're all loud and unapologetic about it, but we're that way because it's like, oh my gosh, like start seeing what it looks like.
Right. No question.
Yeah. I think the other thing is it allows the revenue share has allowed the agent, like for instance, Brent Gove, you mentioned Brent, he's actually on a plane right now to Cleveland to come to our event. We're doing a little kickoff tomorrow here in Cleveland, and Brent Gove hired Tony Robbins twice to come speak. You know, like sometimes you might hear of big brokerages like Remax, Keller Williams, you know, even EXP having big speakers come in to their, you know, annual conference, and they're paying them lots of money. And then you got a guy like Brent Gove, who I met actually on Jay's stage, and Jay, you know, would have Brent come in and speak because he's ball full of energy. Number one, number two, inspires everybody. And he was a top agent at Remax, Keller, all that. And he's just a great person. But I've never heard of an agent. Yeah. He's an agent at the company. He's not a broker. He doesn't own the franchise, none of that. Hired Tony Robbins to come into Dallas, Texas, to come in and just, you know, inspire an entire room to go to the think bigger and all this. And I love that you're adding, you know, the health and wellness piece to it. And that's where it evolved for us. It started going into directions like we were doing with Honey Badger Nation. We were doing couples retreats, you know, where, you know, a lot of times marriages, take the brunt of our business. It's tough being, married to someone like us that's wired the way we are, right? So we did, and it was great. It was a small group, but like branching out like what you're doing, not just focusing on real estate sales, but life and helping these agents to create a life that isn't just real estate all the time, but their health is taken care of, their mental health is taken care of. And you're checking a lot of those boxes. I love to see that you're going in that direction too.
Yeah. I think there's a power, like, yeah, I think there's power in being a female too. Like I made a post the other day. I love all the guys in my life. Like I'm here because of all of them. But I think there's just that bringing a little bit of a feminine to some of it too. That's going to be great, And so like, yeah, we've got brass balls, as you said, but there's that element too of like, let's add in some of the other components that I think will make it really amazing. So I'm excited about it.
Well, we're excited as well, and highly recommend. What's your website again? They can go get the download. They can come to the spring break event that's coming up in March, right?
Yeah, just springbee.com, and that's the all the stuff is there. So I'd love to have you follow me, or you follow me on Instagram. It's Real Spring Bee. I don't think I'm going to change that because I'm like, but when I did that, I was like, shit, now I got to figure out my Instagram handle. But here we are.
Your content, if anyone's watching this and you have not followed Spring, follow her. You are going to be, you think your content's on point? Wait till you see the things that this lady here is putting out, because it is truly a pleasure to even just watch, because it's just done right. So many people are, they're trying to get this content game figured out. And I know that you're like, well, I don't have it figured out. You got it figured out. I mean, it's dialed in. I've never seen anything so amazing. So keep doing what you're doing. We're so proud to have you as part of our family.
Yeah, it's been fun. I write all my own content. So I think that's the key. You guys can't outsource it. Like it truly is me. And I think that's what's resonating with people. So thank you for that compliment.
Love it.
Appreciate you, Spring. Thank you so much for coming on the One Big Fire podcast. It's an honor to be here with you, and can't wait to see you every step of the journey.
Follow along. It's going to get good. I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Let's go. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes.